Chapter 5, Lesson 2, The Quest for Gold and Glory. Objective: What difficult challenges did the Spanish explorers encounter as they traveled through Texas? We will learn what drove the Spanish to explore Texas. I will understand the effect the Spanish exploration had on the Native Americans. Terms to know: Viceroy, an official who rules in the name of the king or queen. Province, a district of a colony or country similar to a state. Occupy, to inhabit or live in. Terminate, to end. Coronado explores the plains. The ruling official in New Spain was Antonio de Mendoza. He was the viceroy, or the official who rules in the king's or queen's name. Viceroy Mendoza listened to Cabeza de Vaca's stories about riches north of Mexico. This was not the first time he had heard tales about mysterious, wealthy lands to the north. Many popular legends told of cities, 7 cities containing amazing treasures. One of those cities was called Cibola. Mendoza put together an expedition to find out if there was any truth to these stories. He chose Francisco Vasquez de Coronado to lead it. Coronado was a young noble. He had been named governor of a province of New Spain. A province is a district of a colony or a country. The expedition was made up of a group of more than 300 soldiers and several hundred Native Americans. They would travel some 1,250 miles. Coronado brought sheep and cattle to supply food on the long journey. In July 1540, after 5 months, Coronado's group reached a Zuni settlement that he thought was Cibola. The Zuni were a Puebloan people living in what is now western New Mexico and eastern Arizona. Instead of a golden city, Coronado's group found a village of mud and stone. The Zuni fought to defend their village. In the fighting, Coronado was wounded. Coronado was sure that he would be able to find treasure somewhere in the vast land. He sent small parties out in different directions to explore. One group saw the Grand Canyon, but none found any gold. The group led by Coronado went east. They met a Pawnee, whom they called the Turk. He told them of a place on the Great Plains called Quivira that was said to be filled with treasure. In the spring of 1541, Coronado headed east with the Turk to find Quivira. The Turk guided Coronado's group to the Great Plains in present-day Texas and Oklahoma. The Wichita lived in or occupied this area. Coronado's men saw the magnificent Palo Duro Canyon, but they kept marching. They finally reached what they thought would be Quivira near what is today Wichita, Kansas. Instead of a wonderful city of treasures, however, Coronado found a simple Native American settlement. Angry, he had the Turk put to death. Coronado claimed the entire Wichita country for Spain. Then he and his expedition began the long return journey. They finally reached Mexico in 1542. Coronado sent a report to the Spanish king saying that Texas's soil would be good for farming. The disappointed explorer also reported that there was no gold to be found in the region. Coronado's expedition included 240 mounted soldiers, 60 foot soldiers, 800 Native Americans and slaves, over 1,000 animals, including horses, mules, cattle, pigs, and sheep. The expedition traveled over 1,250 miles through modern Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. This is Don Juan de Oñate. Other Spanish explorations. In the 1500s, 2 other Spanish expeditions reached what is now Texas. One was led by Luis de Moscoso. It arrived in Texas by accident. The other was led by Juan de Oñate. This expedition was part of a major effort by Spain to colonize lands north of Mexico. Moscoso had been exploring with a group led by Hernando de Soto. They landed on the Florida Gulf Coast in 1539. From there, de Soto's group explored much of today's southeastern United States. After 2 years of travel, the group became the first Europeans to reach the Mississippi River. After De Soto died in 1542, Moscoso took charge. He led the group down the Mississippi River. They then turned west, hoping to return to New Spain using a land route. Their exact route is not known, but some historians think that they reached Nacogdoches. Then they went further along the old San Antonio road to the Guadalupe River. At that point, low food supplies forced them to terminate or end their explorations. Eventually, they returned to the Mississippi River, built boats, and sailed back to Mexico. In 1581, the first Spanish explorers reached the area where El Paso is today. The Rio Grande creates a pass through two mountain ranges there. Because of this, the Spanish named the place El Paso del Norte. This means the northern pass. Later, the name was shortened to El Paso. In 1598, Don Juan de Oñate led a huge expedition. His goal was to start settlements on the upper Rio Grande. With 600 people, 83 wagons, and 7,000 animals, the party formed a train 4 miles long. After a long, terrible desert crossing, the expedition reached El Paso del Norte. There, Oñate celebrated their successful journey and claimed the entire Rio Grande Valley for Spain. Oñate then marched his party up the Rio Grande into what is now New Mexico. There, the Spanish founded settlements. One of these was the city of Santa Fe in 1609. Over time, expeditions set out from New Mexico. They explored the area around what is now San Angelo, Texas. The Spanish who entered what is now Texas had an impact on the area. They unknowingly carried diseases against which Native Americans had no defenses. These diseases began to spread rapidly among Native Americans and killed many of them. In 1598, Don Juan de Oñate led a huge expedition. Its goal was to start settlements in the upper Rio Grande. Okay, I already had that in the other one. All right, this slide was in the previous slide. It's okay. Here's your questions for your Skyward quiz. What place did Coronado reach that he thought must be the city of Cibola, a Zuni settlement of mud and stone? B. What did Coronado report to the Spanish king about his expedition? D. He wrote that he had found a lot of good soil for farming but no gold. Why did Luis de Moscoso lead his expedition into what is now Texas? C. To return to New Spain overland. What is the best description of how El Paso was named? A. The name describes its geographic location between two mountain ranges along the Rio Grande. What was the purpose of Juan de Oñate's exploration? To found settlements on the Rio Grande.